All right, let me get this shared out real quick. Take a second. We're actually early. It's amazing. I got to get the thumbnail switched too, but I'll do that later. We are live. Playmaker podcast. All right. Do you guys? Yeah. Okay. I'm not seeing anything in chat yet, but I'll give it a second. All right, guys. What's up? Welcome. You're tuning into the first episode of the Playmaker podcast. This is something new. Decided we wanted to do. I got a lot of feedback from a lot of people, a lot of you guys. What's up, Saucy? What's up, NARU78? Good to see you guys. We'll be able to kind of tune into questions, and I'll be paying attention to chat. But if we don't say what's up to you or don't say hi, don't take it personal, because we're going to be kind of trying to stay on topic, listening to each other, paying attention to what we're talking about. You know, who's asking who what, who's, kind of going off each other. We got to vibe off each other here. So this is going to be a podcast. It's going to be weekly. You're going to see a lot of these same faces probably often. We'll switch up guests once in a while. There might be 2 or 3 of the same people almost every week. There might be one, and, we'll switch it up. We're going to give people a chance, people who want to voice their opinions, kind of talk about what they want to do. What they love is sports. That's why we're here, right? Sports, daily fantasy sports, DFS, sports betting, I guess you could throw in there. And then also anybody who's into cards, the sports hobby and whatnot. So we get a good mix. I think we're really one of the only podcasts out there that's kind of doing all of that. A lot of people do sports betting, DFS. They're always talking sports, obviously. But I don't think a lot of them really roll the hobby in. You either have a hobby podcast or you have like a sports betting DFS podcast. So we're going to kind of bring it all in together. It should be interesting. We really have no time limits, right? This isn't going to necessarily have to be an hour long. If we're going to go 2 hours, we'll go 2 hours. We're going to do what we can do. I'm going to also look into converting this to audio and trying to get this on platforms so that this is posted weekly if you want to listen in your car on the way to work the next day, whatever, if you miss an episode. So what I want to start with is obviously introductions. We got some faces. We got some new faces for some people here that may not have seen some of these people. So I want to make sure we give the proper introductions and give each and every one of these guys a chance to kind of let us know who they are. So Brady, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to kind of just go around the corner clockwise. So Brady, what's up, man? How you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad, man.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It's good to be able to talk sports. It's one thing, with quarantine and everything, I feel like some of those conversations aren't being able to have in person. So it's cool to be able to get on here and chat with some guys about some sports.
Absolutely. So you want to just give us a quick little rundown of yourself, kind of some interest? Obviously, sports is one. Maybe teams you like, what you're kind of into?
Yeah, I played baseball in college at a D3 school in Grand Rapids. So I love baseball. I collect baseball cards. I do all that. Chicago, everything. I live 2 blocks from Wrigley now. Just moved here last summer. So we're Cubs, Bulls, Bears, Blackhawks. No White Sox though. So it's all right. But yeah, just getting back to the hobby over the last year. It's been awesome. So
all right, right on, man. All right, I'm just gonna go around clockwise. So Balls, what's up, buddy?
You guys know me. I'm Balls. You guys know where to find me. Same thing. I'm Balsley on Twitter.
But Nate doesn't know you yet, really, man. So
yeah, that's true. Balsley. I like baseball, football. I like sports all in general. I mean, today's kind of a downtrodden day because the Chicago Bears are still owned by the Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers. But we'll move forward. We're on to Tampa Bay and another loss. So.
Yeah, it's a rough schedule.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll get into that a little bit more. But you can find me on Twitter. I'm on Instagram and stuff like that, but you're not gonna find me posting a lot there regarding the hobby. I like to keep it centralized at Twitter. So if you want to link M in front of the name Balsley, so M Balsley, I'll definitely follow you back.
Well, it's good to have you as always, and then. Last but not least, my man Nate, man. What's up, buddy? How you doing, big dog? Introduce yourself to the people.
Hey, man, doing good. Just waiting on this Monday night game to start. But, my name is Nate. I'm originally from Philadelphia, so I'm all Philadelphia teams, which is, we're kind of not doing too good right now, but it is what it is. Also, I have a YouTube channel, The Boul Nate. So I'll probably post there maybe 3 or 4 videos a week. Try to. Yeah, I'm just glad to be on the podcast, talk a little sports, talk a little hobby. And
Absolutely, man.
Society.
We're happy to have you here, man. We're happy to have you here. And so I guess what I really want to do is I want to roll off and I want to get into this, I guess. And I want to first touch on, because I think there's a lot more NFL and whatnot we can talk about, but I want to kind of roll that or save that towards the second half here. So what I want to dive into first is really what's going on right now in the MLB world. Okay. So we have what the Atlanta Braves versus the Dodgers in that series, and then we have the Houston Astros and the Red Sox. So takes on, and I'll start with Brady. I guess we'll just kind of go around the horn. So Brady, first with you, how are you seeing the MLB playoffs as of right now, and which two teams do you feel are going to represent the World Series and why?
Oh, it has been hectic and, kind of insane. You have a team like the Giants who have looked insane all year. And, you look at that roster and you think, how does that team win over 105 games? But you have another team like the Braves losing Ronald Acuna in the middle of the season. And when they went all in and traded for Jock Peterson, I thought, what are they doing? There's no way this team's going to make a run. And now they're up 2 games in the NLCS over the Dodgers. So it's just one of those things that shows that baseball is, I think, one of the best sports in not being able to predict anything, right? In some other sports, you have some ability to predict, all right, this team's better, like they should win. And sometimes in baseball, it just doesn't happen that way. So I hope the Braves win. Personally, that's where I want to see. And on the other side, I don't really like either team, so I'll go Red Sox, I guess. But
you don't like those cheating Astros? No?
Yeah, not a big Astros fan, and I mean I don't really hate or love the Red Sox, so it's just
right.
It's just kind of, they're kind of whatever to me. But I'm all in on the Braves, so I want them to win it all at this point. I think it'd be a cool story for a team that lose their star halfway through the season and rally together and go win a championship.
Heck yeah. All right, man. Balls, what's your takes on how the playoffs are going in the MLB, and who is your team or teams you see representing in the World Series and why?
Yeah, I also, to add to what Brady was saying about Atlanta, they also added Jorge Soler during that too. So, I mean, he's been kind of underrated. He's really picked it up in the second half. I watch a lot of Kansas City because I collect my boy Jacob Junis. But if it's me, I mean, give me that blood game. Give me the Dodgers versus the Houston Astros. I want to see that. I want to see the bad blood. I want to see the Dodgers think the Astros caught that, took a title from it, stole it, whatever you want to say. Let's see it play out. I want to see Houston put their money where their mouth is. And I want to see the Dodgers, you talk all that game, you better be able to back it up too. So if it's me, give me Houston versus, the Houston lineup versus that Dodgers pitching would be an awesome, I think I would love to see that, because that Houston lineup it's a juggernaut, man. There's no easy outs with that team.
Right.
And I mean, I would love to see Atlanta, for the history and all that, but
yep.
I want to see the storyline. Give me those two teams, man.
I love it. Hey, Nate, next to you, man. What's your take on the playoffs, MLB, and what teams do you feel represent the World Series and why?
Man, the MLB every year, just like Brady said, like you don't know who's gonna win. Like shoot, towards the end of the season, we saw what the Cardinals win. How many straight games? Like 20-some straight games, and they came out of nowhere. So like baseball is definitely just a good sport, because like anything can happen, you can go on a run. Like no expected the Braves to be this far either. Like they come out of nowhere, got a run. They're up 2-0 right now in the series, so they surprised a lot of people. So teams I want to see. I probably would say Dodgers and Astros as well. Like I said, like storyline, both teams are very good. They got good lineups, pretty solid pitching. But at the same time, I do want to see the underdog. Like I kind of do want to see the Braves. I'm a Phillies fan, but I still want to see the Braves. Underdog. Nobody expected them to be this far. So I probably say storyline wise or like popularity wise, I say Astros and Dodgers, but I wouldn't mind seeing the Braves.
Okay.
Don't mind that.
Yeah. So, I'm going to touch on it before I give you guys my two teams to finish this off here on this part of the MLB playoffs. how about the Braves, man? They've been winning these games in the 9th inning, right? At the end of the game, you're talking about, what was it, Austin Riley a couple nights ago with the bomb, and then you're talking about last night with a former Minnesota Twins, stand up Minnesota, Eddie Rosario with the double to bring him in to win the game. I mean, you need some luck, right? Especially in baseball. We talk about this a lot. And as an avid DFS player playing a lot of MLB and playing a lot of every sport, baseball is one of the toughest sports that you can actually play and be consistent and win at, because, like you said, anybody can win. Nate, anybody can go on a run. Anybody can get to the plate and knock a home run or hit a grand slam. I mean, you could have the 9th hole hitter. He could be batting 100. Exactly. And this could be in the game. He could be your catcher, and he could knock a grand slam. And even in the playoffs, I mean, it happens. We see it throughout the years. Crazy things happen. Some guys step up, that next man up, if you will, if someone gets hurt, or even just straight somebody just gets a different beast in him and just gets hungry and wants that will to win and just takes over, and he comes out of nowhere. Really, you're like, where does this guy come from? Where did he show up from? So I'm going with the Braves. I want the Braves to do it. Okay. And then I just feel like Houston just has it. You know what I mean? And I feel like the problem with Houston is I think they're all really pissed off, right? Because we kind of joke, I throw out the little cheater thing, hey, yeah, you don't want to root for the cheaters, right? But that's a common theme, right? You could probably go into anywhere, the trash cans, the Hastros, whatever, the Hatros, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of people out there that they just don't like that team. And I think they have a lot to prove. And I think they're out there really trying to show that, hey, we can still do this without that cheating, even though I don't think it's ever right. And cheating isn't right, but I think they're on to something. I think they really have something to prove this year. That's why I feel like it's going to be Atlanta and it's going to be Houston, and that's where I see the World Series. Now, last thing before we move on, and we just touch on the NBA because the season is starting. We don't have a lot to talk about yet, but we can kind of predict some things of where we see the season going and who's going to represent. To finish off baseball, we talked about our teams representing. Who is going to actually win this World Series? We're going to go the other way around now. Nate, I'm going to start with you. Then we'll go Balls, then we'll go Brady, and then me. Who do you got winning it all?
Hey, I'm gonna go Dodgers. I'm gonna think Dodgers got like enough pitching. They got enough hitting to So away. I know the Astros. I think I saw the comments that like Lance McCullers is out. I know they got some injuries like that. So I'm gonna go Dodgers. Probably Dodgers in. I'll go Dodgers in 7.
Okay.
World Series.
Balls.
Man, give me the bad guy. Who's the bad guy? Give me the Astros.
Now hang on. I see some comments in the chat. I'm kind of trying to keep with the comments here. And we do have our boy Jeff Airtime. Good evening to you. And we have Jay Thompson kind of throwing it out there that the Astros did lose Lance McCullers, which is kind of their main ace. Is that going to matter this deep into the playoffs? I mean, I think to win a championship, you got to have all aces firing, right?
Yeah.
Still on the Astros? Still taking them?
I'm still on the Astros, man. Them bats. It's hard to get. I watched that Sox series, and that Sox team all year was a pretty good team, Yep. And it was just something like every time the Sox would come score and tie the game back up, that Astros team kept that foot on the pedal. That lineup has no give to it. I just think overall they're the best team left, and I think they got that biggest chip. It's them versus the world. Nobody believes in their last one. This gives them a chance to legitimize it, especially them guys like Altuve, Correa, George Springer. Them guys really want that so they can say, hey, you got one that we might have in question, but we won that one against all odds. So, I still think the Astros, man.
Okay, cool. Brady, where you stand, buddy?
I'm doubling down. I'm going with the Atlanta Braves. And I think this team is playing with a sense of proving people wrong in regards to writing them off earlier in the year. And, we talked about they made some moves with Soler. They made some moves with Jock Peterson.
Yep.
They have a good staff. Max Fried pitches well. Charlie Morton pitches well. And can we also note that They are up 2-0 in a series where Freddie Freeman has done nothing.
Yeah, you're correct.
That's a good point.
How much longer can you expect a guy of Freddie Freeman's caliber to not hit? It's going to come around. Right. So now you add that to this lineup with Austin Riley, who, by the way, is playing out of his mind this year, and especially the second half of the season. And you add that to Ozzy Albies and some of those guys. I think it's just a lineup and a team that's playing for something. And everybody's playing for something, but they lost their top 5 player in all of Major League Baseball, and here they are, up 2 games on what people argue is one of the best teams of all time in the Dodgers over the past 3 or 4 seasons. So I think that's the team I'm going to go for. And I understand they're up 2-0, but that's who I want to see win, and I think they can do it.
Yeah, and I think they have that cushion now, right? Being up 2-0. And I think I'm gonna ride with Brady on this one. I'm wearing the Braves hat tonight. I kind of did that for probably a reason, no pun intended. But yeah, I don't see they're hot right now, right? And again, I want to touch on something Ball said too when we kind of touched on the McCullers deal with losing McCullers for the Astros. That is kind of true. And I know that fantasy sports is not always really, it's not real life, right? We talk a lot of times when we talk fantasy players, we say that there's a lot of fantasy players that are awesome, elite fantasy players to play for fantasy, but then they're not as elite to play like real life. Like as a real life player, they're not as good because of what they do, how they help or don't help a team. It's more individual or whatnot. But it's kind of interesting as you get into the playoffs playing. I'll throw a little DFS in here. Playing, trying to pick pitchers, right? It's almost in most nights during these playoffs, it's almost a coin flip. Now there are some games where they're doing their starter and then a primary or whatever, where they're not going to pitch. Like Dodgers did that. I think the Astros did that one game, whatever, where they do like a 1 or 2 inning guy to start the game who's not going to stay in there. Maybe you go after the guy that's going to come in afterwards. So they call their primary, bullpen type with primary after or whatever, kind of the reverse deal that they try to run around. But it's almost like a flip of a coin on the pitcher side. So Balls kind of brings up a good point when he says, it's really in the bats. And it has been, right? I mean, we're seeing this time and time again. We're seeing these series tied up. We're seeing it tied up in the 9th inning. That's how it's been for the Dodgers in Atlanta in these last 2 games. And somehow Atlanta's found the will to get the win in the 9th, in the bottom of the 9th. It's insane. And now they were in LA these last 2 games, right? Are they back in Atlanta tonight or tomorrow night? Tomorrow night they play, right? Again?
Sure, yep.
Are they back in Atlanta now? Were they in LA for the first 2 games, I believe, right? What's that? You're muted, Brady. Brady, you're muted.
Yeah, my bad. First 2 games were in Atlanta. You got to remember Dodgers.
They were in Atlanta. That's my bad. So they're going to LA.
Yeah.
So, that is going to put a little, LA is going to have that home crowd advantage coming back on their side. And that's one thing we can touch on real quick too, what's your guys' take? How much do you feel home field advantage? I know we see it in the NFL as this year has been huge with teams having the fans back in the stadiums where they weren't last year with the whole COVID and the pandemic. But how much do you feel? I mean, is that a big factor in the MLB? What do you guys think? What's your takes? Brady, I'll start with you.
I think it has to be. And I think you might even see it more considering that what we went through last year during the MLB season. You had a lot of players that didn't play with fans in the stadium, and you saw that impact their performance. And so now you get into big games where you have that crowd coming back, and I think it's got to make a difference one way or the other. So I just think it's a difference from last year.
All right, Balls. Anything?
Yeah, when you're talking about especially the difference from last year, you can actually communicate last year as a team. Even if you gave up a double, you could communicate, hey, here's what we're going to do. When that crowd's going nuts, there's no chance for you to communicate. You've got to be kind of on the same page. And, I think once you get into those situations, especially when it's a tight game, you're talking those 1-0, close games going into the 7th. You see it every time. The fans are on their feet every single pitch. They're cheering along. It's not like playing in a July regular season game. No matter how much of a professional you are, that's got to have some kind of impact, I would think.
All right, cool. Nate, you want to touch on anything else with that, with the home field advantage?
Yeah, I agree. Like there's definitely some players that feed off the crowd energy. Like there's some players that like that need that energy. Like they need that. I guess kind of like that momentum, that hype from the crowd, and like they just to play better. And then also, like in the playoffs, like not only do the players know how important the game is, the crowd knows how important the game is. So they definitely going to like I said, stand up. They're going to cheer. They're going to be hyped for like every home run or a big strikeout. So yeah, like just having the crowd back in the stands is amazing, just for the players, for us to watch at home. Because shoot, like when you see a home run, get the crowd get hyped, like you get hyped too, like this game is getting intense, it's getting crazy, like what's gonna happen next? So like having the home field advantage and the crowd, like that's definitely ideal for sure.
And if I can just say one more thing, think about like on the other end too. When you're the road team and you hit that like dagger 3-pointer and you get that silence over the crowd, that's one of the best moments in sports, because then they get to be like, shh, it's that killer instinct. It's that competitor. And that's one of the best moments I think in sports too, is that just deaf crowd of being like, shh.
Right. My man, before we move on, my man Jason Edwards has got a question here. He says he has a question for all of you. Why is the collectors against the pitchers? Pitchers have the most talent because they have to throw a ball 90 plus miles in a 2x3 foot area, and all a position player does is hit. That's a good question, Brady. I'll start with you on this one. What do you think? Why is that? I mean, we can't speak for everybody else, but in your opinion, why do you feel that is?
I think it's hard when you see a player once every 5 days, no matter how dominant they are, no matter how often they, you have some of Jacob deGrom is arguably one of the top 10 seasons at the first half of the year. And, you saw a little bit of rise in his stock in regards to the hobby, but it's hard when you see a guy out there one every 5 days. It's hard. What do pitching stats or pitching highlights look like? All right, you struck out a guy, right? Like just generally they're not the hype moments until you get to the playoffs and you see those strikeouts, you see those type of things come up. But when you are talking about the hobby specifically, they want to get behind star players that they can see every single day and can be behind every day. And that's just something that the hobby is decided. And, I think there are some pitchers that deserve more value in regards to their cards, and sometimes they don't get that. But I think it's generally because of that fact that you just don't see these guys every day. And also from year to year, the pitchers go up, pitchers go down. There's very rarely a dominance of 5, 6, 7 seasons in a row that you can get from a great hitter in the MLB. So,
Yep, I agree. And anybody else want to touch on? I mean, I can kind of throw in my 2 cents. Anyone else have anything to add to that, or no?
I add something to that. Another thing is that it's just that the position players, they're just like there's more exciting. They're the ones hitting the home runs. They're the ones playing defense. They're the ones that they make all the hype plays. So everybody loves to see like the offense in the game. Because obviously like pitching is kind of considered defense in a way, essentially.
Yeah.
Right. But like this way, like they hit the home runs, they got like all like the swag, like the gold chains and everything. So people gravitate towards that, and that's why you see like obviously like Acuna, Mike Trout cards go for a lot of money, but you see like Jacob deGrom or like maybe like Max Scherzer cards don't go for much. It's like people like to see the offense in sports now.
I mean, let's be honest too. Every time somebody hits a nasty bat flip, that thing trends like no other.
Oh, yeah.
So it goes through the roof. And that's coming from a guy who collects a pitcher. I super PC a pitcher. So, it's that chicks love the long ball. It's why the MLB's tried to change the ball. It's why they want to go to a universal DH. It's why they put a runner in extra innings on base, whether or not. They don't want the games to stretch out, but they want more runs. And runs are exciting.
And Victor does bring up a point. He commented, he said, you see players once every 7 days. That is correct. But in football, that's how you see it typically with every player, right? In that particular sport. It's not, there's a difference there. And I was going to add one thing. A lot of times we do that comparison of like a quarterback, because quarterbacks on the flip side in football, quarterbacks are like the elite, right? Those top quarterbacks, those rookie quarterbacks, the quarterbacks that are at the top of the tier. Those are the ones bringing in the high value. Those are the ones that bring in the money. Those are the ones that most people want to collect. But it's different because they're playing every week, and that's every 7 days or whatever, unless they have a Sunday and then a Thursday game, whatever, where there's that 1 week or so they might. But they're playing virtually, they have their hands on the ball virtually every single play. In pitching, yes, but in pitching, there's games. Every team is playing 5 times a week at least, and they're only typically pitching 1 out of those 5 days, and then once a week. So 1 every 7 days if they got a day or 2 off in the week. So it is kind of interesting, right? So you kind of look back even on when we talk hobby side of this, and we bring in the pitcher stance. Like the Nolan Ryans, the vintage, the older top pitchers really bring in value, but then there's some people that would argue that there are some pitchers nowadays, not a lot, but there are some that bring some type of value, like Walker Buehler, like if you have, and I know that graded cards increase price for anything and every card, regardless who it is. But on a lot of his auto rookie cards, I mean, they're up there in price if you go trying to search and want to buy one like a PSA 9. And I get that. A rookie card of any player is going to be a lot more. But still, you tend to see a little more value with some of these younger pitchers that are having just insane careers like a Walker Buehler. So will that tide change sometime? I mean, the only way that really changes, I feel, in my opinion, is if more people get excited about pitchers, and it's like a supply demand thing. Like people got to want it. The interest has got to be there. If more people go after pitchers and really want to collect pitchers and are going to pay price, then you're going to see the values go up, right? Then it's going to draw more interest because a lot of people like to follow people. I talk about this a lot, right? I'm going to bring up example. Like a lot of times people will sometimes, instead of like voicing their own opinion or voicing their own how they feel about something, if somebody really wants to fit in with a certain crowd or a certain group, they might side with them or say they agree with something they say, even though they may not 100% agree with it, right? Because they want that in, right? It's like if you go back to, you think about like in high school, a lot of people would do things or maybe they don't truly believe in, but they'd still be a part of it or believe in or side with it just because they want to be a part of that. It's the same kind of thing in collecting. It's all popularity. It's a popularity contest. Like who's collecting what? How many people are going after a player? So if you bring more attention to the pitchers, maybe the youngsters, etc., that's going to then increase that or draw more interest. So just something I wanted to touch on there. All right, we're going to start. I think you guys got anything else to add to the MLB before we move on to the NBA? We've touched on this for about a half hour, which I think is pretty good because there's not a lot of games going on anymore. I mean, we had a full season just finish up, but virtually pretty much just got done. And I apologize, guys, because I'm in the middle of an NBA season-long draft too, so I'm kind of sidetracked here. But all right, let's roll into the NBA. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this, guys, because there's not really a lot yet to talk about as far as the season starts tomorrow. Who's excited? I got NBA fans in here.
I'm ready.
Yeah, me too, man.
I'm ready.
I mean, I'm drafting my team right now for my season long. I'm in every year. Big money league, 200 a team. Trying to go after it, man. Gotta win it. I had to keep my 2 keepers this year were Alonzo Ball I get to pick him around 7, and then Bogdanovich round 8.
Okay.
But so far it's looking good. We're going into the 10th round right now. So guys, if I kind of look to the side every once in a while, I'm checking out my other monitor, kind of trying to keep tabs on the draft. But let's get into it. So we got a couple games to kick off the NBA. And again, guys, if NBA is not your thing, we're not going to be talking about it a lot tonight because there's not a lot to talk about yet. There's been a lot of moves, a lot of player moves, a lot of trades. But The Lakers are playing the Golden State. That's the late game tomorrow.
Yep.
And Brooklyn is at Milwaukee. So the Brooklyn and the Bucks are going to play. I think the Milwaukee Brooklyn game's like 231.5 points. And then the Golden State game's a little bit lower point total. I think it's like 223 or something. I don't remember off the top of my head. But I guess really what I just want to kind of touch on in the NBA here and get all your guys' opinions from what you've seen, from the player moves you've seen in the offseason. Well, I guess let's start out first. If you've paid enough attention to the NBA, what's like one or two of the player moves that you're most excited about that you saw in the offseason? Nate, I'll start with you this time, Nate.
Okay. I think one player move that I like is Lonzo Ball going to the Bulls. That definitely was a good pickup for them because like they got Zach LaVine, they got Nikola Vucevic,
which they got him too,
yep,
right? That was another move.
Yep, and actually they also got DeMar DeRozan as well. So they made a lot of moves in all season. So, but yeah, like Lonzo Ball, I like him a lot as a player because he can play defense, pass the ball very well. So he should definitely be a good addition to the Bulls. And I'm trying to think of any other.
So like Westbrook went to LA. You have, there's all sorts of moves that have happened. Yeah. Westbrook went to LA. Schroeder didn't sign the big contract last year. Now he went to Boston, right? He's in Boston.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. Who's another? I'm trying to think of another guy, another big move. I can't think off the top of my head, but yeah. All right.
Who? My bad. Mine are kind of two like anti-moves so far. It's like what's going to happen with Kyrie, because Kyrie's status is up. Like who knows what's going on with Kyrie?
Thing, yeah.
Yep. And then the whole Ben Simmons thing. Ben Simmons shows up to training camp. What's going to go on with him? Like it's not working in Philly. It's not working. So you got to move on. Who's the guy? Like it's Embiid, and Embiid clearly doesn't like Simmons. So. Do they swap? Can they make a swap for Kyrie for Simmons? Your headache for mine.
Yeah.
I'm kind of interested to see what happens there because I think the Nets are better without Kyrie, but if they were able to add somebody like Simmons, that shakes their team up a bit. Then you're talking a different type of contender there. I love what the Bulls did, but it's their first year. They're gonna have to mesh. So I'm trying to keep level expectations, but that would be my two. Would be Kyrie and what's going to happen with Ben Simmons.
Oh man, Ben Simmons.
Matt, I am raising the expectations. I am taking the Bulls. I am just so high on them.
This is actually crazy. Go on, Brady. But this is actually insane that we're kind of all like on this because I'll touch on after you're done. Go ahead, Brady.
I think so. Bulls. Projected win total right now is 41.5. I'm taking the over.
Over
on that. Like if you want to bet to watch this year, I'm taking the over on the Bulls. 41.5. I think they made a lot of great improvements. Lonzo, you have Caruso coming off the bench. You have Vucevic, the trade that was at the end of last year. And let's not forget Zach LaVine missed 15 games with COVID, so they did not play very long together at the end of last season. Yep. You had DeMar DeRozan. You have hopefully the growth of Patrick Williams, and you saw Kobe White coming off the bench. So I think that team is deeper than a lot of people think, and I think that team is going to see a lot of growth this year. In regards to other people around the NBA, I love Lowry in Miami. I think that's some improvement on their roster.
Is a good one too. I forgot about
Kemba with the Knicks. That's one that you can see maybe improving the team as well.
Yep. So one thing, Brady, to add to your Kemba before I forget, and I'll let you continue.
Yeah.
So he joins Tom Thibodeau, and you know what Tom Thibodeau loves to do? He loves to run his veterans into the ground.
Yep.
So when we talk about fantasy gold, Kemba Walker is a fantasy gold player. You should play him because he's guaranteed he's going to play 36 minutes a night unless he's lagging some injury. And Thibodeau might still run him then. So go on, Brady. I like that point.
No, I just think you saw a lot of teams making moves, and you saw a lot of teams not content with what they had last year, right? You saw the Lakers completely overhaul their roster. You saw the Bulls add, you saw the Miami Heat add, you saw the Knicks add. Those are outside the Bulls. Those are playoff teams looking to get better, and I think that's a good thing for the NBA. And it's a good thing for those teams to not be content with what they've had in the past and really making a lot of moves this offseason to try to improve their roster.
Love it. I love it. Love it. Yeah, and I guess really with me too, I think the same thing. That's why I was saying this is crazy. I am 100% thinking the Bulls, man. The Bulls just have it, man. They just put together the right team. I think they really put a team together that can truly make a run, and it's going to be exciting to see. Hopefully it's not one of those things that looks just awesome on paper and doesn't pan out, because we've seen that before. That has happened in history where you're looking at a team preseason or beginning of the season going, holy God, these guys are going to just win it. And then injuries hit, etc., and things lag out. And then the team can't find chemistry and gel completely 100% together because they're bringing a guy in all the time here and there. And another interesting thing too, I guess the one thing I'm interested to see is I'm trying to remember what their second run team looks like. Like, first, for starters, looks amazing. Do they have enough guys to kind of continue and keep that lead and maybe enhance that lead while the guys rest, for 5 minutes at a time here and there? That's some things that'll kind of come to play that we'll have to kind of look into as we move into the season. So I think we're good. Anything else you guys want to add on the NBA? Again, I said we weren't going to touch on it much because there really wasn't a lot. We're just starting the season. We got a 2-gamer tomorrow night, and then we got an 11-gamer Wednesday. So next week, we'll have some NBA to talk about. We'll be talking about guys that are kind of sticking out, guys that are that playmaker, if you will, which we have a lot to talk about. We already kind of touched on MLB, like the Austin Rileys, if you will, Eddie Rosario's in the playoff, Altuve, guys like that. But I guess let's roll on in. We should have plenty to talk about here with the NFL. We're just finishing. We're tailing week 6 tonight. In fact, the Buffalo Bills, right, are playing the Tennessee Titans. That's in Buffalo, correct? Or is it in Tennessee?
I think it's in Tennessee.
Tennessee? It's in Tennessee?
Yep.
Okay. I guess let's start with that before we get into how the season's kind of going. Brady, let's start with you. Who do you see taking tonight's Monday night game? You got the Bills or you got the Tennessee Titans?
Come on. It's
just
Buffalo.
Says, come
Buffalo.
on.
I mean, Josh Allen, that team is juggernaut offensively, and I just don't – Tennessee's not that good. I don't think I think it'll be a touchdown.
All right. Balls, Tennessee or Bills tonight?
I was thinking a lot of parlays probably have the Bills tonight. Vegas always knows something. They got the line at 6.5.
Yeah.
I mean, can Tennessee muddy it up with Derrick Henry? That's going to be the biggest thing. If they can control the ground, which I just think Buffalo's a complete team, man. They're nobody circles the wagons, but they're a wagon, man. They're stacked, and I'm big on Josh Allen, real big on Josh Allen. So I would take Buffalo. Even with that point spread, even if it were probably 7.5, I'd probably take it. I think Tennessee's got to muddy it up. They get Julio Jones kind of back tonight. We'll see how he is.
Now, is AJ Brown still questionable, or is he playing?
That I'm not sure. I had it up, but my TV turned off on me when this started. So
looks like he has a target. So it looks like he's out there.
Oh, he's been playing. Okay.
It'd be 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things. So I would take Buffalo tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, I think Buffalo, because pretty much outside of week 1, Josh Allen's been on a tear. Remember, just him, and it's wild too because I think Stephon Diggs only has 1 touchdown so far this season, so he hasn't really got going yet, and he's still putting up 30, 40 points on teams. So yeah, and Tennessee's secondary is definitely not good. So so Josh Allen should be able to let it fly all game, but if Tennessee can get the run game going with Derrick Henry, they might be able to keep it close. But outside of that, yeah, I'm taking Buffalo, and I will take the spread too.
Okay, yeah, I'm all in. I'm all in Buffalo. I think you guys know. I mean, that's kind of a team that I felt strong on. I was strong on last year. I thought maybe they could have got almost all the way there. I thought maybe they would have had a chance to even get KC if they got there, but it didn't happen. But I think this year is a different deal. I think chances of them, and we'll touch more on that. But yeah, I'm going to take Buffalo tonight. So I want to kind of touch on what happened yesterday. We got a lot of things that kind of went down. We got a lot of interesting games. We got a lot of wild finishes. Man, we have had at least one overtime game in every single week so far this season. Like, when's the last time this has happened through 6 weeks? I don't know if it even has. A lot of things going on, a lot of teams giving up points, letting teams get back in the game, just giving up some weird deal things. I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to touch on one thing before I kind of let you guys touch on your highlights for NFL Week 6 and what you liked. That Dak to CD Lamb touchdown in OT. Ooh. I tell you what, guys, I played just under $100 in contests on each site yesterday. Mm-hmm. I was down $10 on both because I had Lamar was one of my heaviest quarterback plays, and he just didn't do much. They did great, but he didn't have to be involved much. He's threw one touchdown pass, had some rushing yards, but didn't really do a lot because he just wasn't involved. And with that, I was down $10 on both, pretty much about $10. I think it was like 9 something on each site. And once that touchdown pass happened, boom, I was up like just over $10 on both sides. So it made me go another week. No big, huge wins, no big victories, but to have my quarterback kind of, I guess, shit the bed, if you will, because he didn't really have to be that involved in the game. The game script just didn't fit it. They couldn't keep up on the other side. That was kind of a big highlight for me. And those Cowboys, man, I'm telling you, they seem to be for real. There's other ones I can touch on, plays I can touch on, but I'm going to let you guys kind of touch on some of that. Brady, I'll start with you. We'll go around the horn. So Brady, Balls, then Nate. You guys can add to anything they touch on, and you can bring up anything else that you want as far as highlights, playmakers, if you will, for the week, etc. Games that you really liked, surprises, whatever.
Well,
floor is yours.
No surprise that Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears. That might have been one of the most predictable games I've ever watched as a Bears fan. We go up 7-0 on an 80-yard touchdown drive to start the game, and I immediately go, it's just one of those games that you know what the outcome's going to be. But a team that I love is the Los Angeles Rams, and I think the reason is Matthew Stafford finally has weapons and a team around him. And I live with 2 huge Detroit Lions fans. So I've heard all offseason about how Matthew Stafford's going to tear up the NFL. And you know what? He's doing it. They're playing well. So some of the other scores and, lines I'm looking around, obviously you have 3 overtime games this week, Vikings and the Cowboys game. That might have been only 2, but it's competitive games around the NFL. You see teams that are showing up. You see teams that are, I think there's 3 Seahawks Steelers, which that was a great game as well.
Yep. Yeah, that was a great game.
But yeah, I think my one team right now I'd be on would be the Rams. I think they have a good shot at going deep this year.
Okay. Balls.
Yeah, I think yesterday watching the games, I kind of got a feel of like, the young quarterbacks, you're seeing them kind of all learn right now on the job. Even Mac Jones yesterday, there was a few times where you could definitely see where he was making reads through his progressions, starting to actually kind of push the ball downfield a little bit, which he hasn't done in the past few weeks. Trevor Lawrence gets his first win. Zach Wilson doesn't throw an interception. They had to bye this week, so he couldn't. But I think you kind of see that, but then I also think you kind of look at, some of these other teams, like what goes on with Cleveland and Baker now. Is Baker, I feel like, is on the hot seat with Cleveland, especially some of the fans there. The fans, they thought, here we come back. We are running Stefanski's offense. We won a playoff game. This team should be better. And for all intents and purposes, that defense looks really good, but that offense should be probably better than this with some of the weapons that they have, that running game they have. So really, I'm kind of just interested in watching like the younger quarterback play in the league. You see guys like Tua. What goes on with Tua from here? Is he, is the Deshaun Watson trade market going to heat up? Because that's going to be, I think, week 8's the trade deadline. So, I've been really just impressed and kind of like watching that younger group. I think they're kind of learning on the job, doing some things. That next group's kind of got, some growth to still be had. But then I think it's just still way too early to know who these teams are. I think always you're going to see those elite quarterbacks take their teams to winning records, your Brady's, your Rodgers. Even I would put Stafford in that category. I've got to watch Stafford as a Bears fan. I knew he was going to be good this year. But those teams are, winning records or even better. So I really just think it's all quarterback play right now, early in the season. And if your quarterback's hit or miss, your team's going to be hit or miss early.
Yeah. Great. Nate, what's up, man?
Man,
You're up, buddy.
This beginning of the season has been insane. Like we had a couple teams coming to like a fast start. Kind of like the Panthers won like the first like 2 or 3 games and they fell off. Sam Darnold looked like the New York Jets. Sam Darnold throwing picks, turning the ball over. The Raiders got to a hot start and then they fell off. Shoot, the Chiefs, what 3-3 now. Mahomes was struggling. The defense isn't good, so
Man.
they fall. But then like you got some good teams like the Cardinals. They're 6-0 on the undefeated team. Kyler Murray look like MVP candidate. They got the Cowboys. Their defense is playing well. Trayvon Diggs has 5 interceptions so far this season. So
yeah,
so
7. Yeah, 7.
7. Sorry, interception every week with him. But yeah. So it's been so many like surprising teams that you think with like who you thought might do well, doing bad, and some teams that you thought weren't gonna do well, do good. And like I said, there's so many overtime games. Like there's been so many teams that like call back. So like this kind of been like the year like kind of like the backdoor cover. You see a lot of teams that might be like plus like 7.5 team covers like late. And then also touching on the topic with like the young quarterbacks, like you're finally seeing like Justin Fields finally getting some playing time. Even some guys like Jalen Hurts, he's finally getting some run. Trevor Lawrence, like I said, he's been looking better. Even guys like Joe Burrow with the Bengals. Bengals were 4-2. They're looking good. Him and Jamar Chase looking like LSU all over again as well. So yeah, it's so much going on in the NFL, and then I think it's going to continue this throughout the year pretty much, for sure.
Yeah. And let's touch back on Diggs real quick. Like he gets that pick 6, and then he gets burned. Right, that was his guy. That was his guy to get them back in the game, to make them have to bring it back into overtime. So. Absolutely amazing. You touched on Kyler Murray, man. Those Cardinals. I mean, are they for real? Like they're undefeated right now. Are the Arizona Cardinals for real? Kyler Murray, I guess people like to call him the video game quarterback, right? Because he always escapes the pocket. He always makes something happen. He's, I guess, he would be kind of your top candidate as like one of the playmakers, if you will, as we're going with the name of the podcast here. Dak Prescott, again, we touched on. Playing great, coming back off that injury. Russell Wilson was doing his thing until he got a freak injury, right? And man, he has some of the great elite receivers out there. One thing I want to touch on, it was kind of a surprise that when Kenyon Drake went to the Raiders, I know they have Josh Jacobs there, but I want to talk about this a little bit because this starts to stir some things up, I think. You got Gruden gone, right? You got a lot happening with the Rams, right? With the Las Vegas Raiders. You have a lot happening with him being gone. You got a new coaching staff. You see Kenyon Drake get more involved this week. Now, is that something set from Gruden being gone, or is that in the new coaching staff, or is that just something like, hey, he went out and he got a touch, he made something happen, we're kind of going with the hot hand? I'm interested. This is interesting now. I'm interested to see where this leads to, as Drake has a huge game last week for the Raiders. Huge game. And kind of makes Jacobs look like, who's Josh Jacobs? Even though he's a great running back. So I'm wondering, this is a topic to touch on. Is Drake going to be the guy with Gruden kind of being gone in this new coaching staff? or is this going to be a real shared committee, or are we going to see Jacobs kind of still be apparently the guy? Brady, I'll start with you, man. What's your takes on the topic of Drake and Jacobs, with Drake coming off a monster week?
Well, I actually have Kenyon Drake in a couple fantasy leagues, and the hope was for him to see more production than he's seen so far. And obviously, I haven't played him at all, so I didn't get last week's. This week's big week for him, scoring 2 touchdowns. But I'm just looking here at some of his touches. He still only had 6 touches the whole game. 4 rushes and 2 receptions. So it's one of those things where, can it be something going forward? Yes, I think if you want to, you almost want to see those opportunities come his way before you start committing to him in any sort of fantasy lineup or DFS.
Yeah,
I think you want to see that increase in his opportunities. But I think you bring up a good point with John Gruden, obviously not being there anymore, and a new head coach there. That if the opportunity is going to come this season, it's going to be now, especially after a week like this week. So I think it's something to keep an eye on as we move, a couple weeks down the road. What kind of opportunities is he seeing, and is he taking advantage of them?
I agree. Balls, anything with that?
And I kind of look at it. Josh Jacobs was a first-round draft pick. It makes me wonder why teams keep drafting running backs in the first round. I look at the Bears. The Bears got David Montgomery in the 3rd. Yesterday, Khalil Herbert rushed for almost, I think, 100 yards. He's a 5th round,
6th round, yeah.
Yeah, 5th, 6th round draft pick. And you see it every year. It's almost like a plug and play thing if your system works. And I think if I'm Oakland, the Vegas Raiders, I'd ride the hot hand, kind of if Jacobs is physically pounding out a team, and making them pay for it, then keep giving him the rock. But Kenyon Drake offers a way more dynamic skill set that probably pairs a little bit better with those guys like Ruggs and them, where he has those option routes underneath that he could take advantage even in the passing game. So it's kind of one of those things. If I'm the coach, I ride the hot hand, and you've got to be able to feel that out during a game, how it's working for you. So
Nate, what's your take on the whole Drake Jacobs deal? Drake popping off.
So I probably think that I think for at least right now, I think they'll keep riding Josh Jacobs, or kind of I guess the bell cow back. But I definitely think they'll try to at least get Drake in there, because I said, Drake is more. I think he's more of a receiving back. So Derek Carr get the ball out quick to him in the flat, or maybe on the wheel route. So
right.
I could definitely see him get more touches, or maybe like I said, we get the hot hand, just robbing him for a little bit, because I know Josh Jacobs has been hurt this season, missed a couple weeks, and then he also has some games where he might go for 14 rushes for 44 yards, something like that. So I kind of see them using Kenyon Drake a little bit more. How much more, we'll see, but I could definitely see him maybe getting maybe more 10 or so touches, maybe more next couple weeks. Maybe make him a little valuable in DFS or fantasy. You want to pick him up. So that's what I think.
How about those Jags, huh?
Did you see the end of the game?
Yeah.
What were they do? What defense are they playing on that?
I don't know.
I literally, they called a timeout, and I'm like, all right, it's 4th and 8. They got 2 timeouts, 5 seconds. You can run it a 10-yard out and get closer to kick a field goal.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, they're playing prevent defense with 4 guys at the goal line. What are you doing? And obviously it's exactly what happened. But I just am amazed that as a fan, you can sit there and predict that the team calls a timeout and then comes back out, and it happens exactly what I thought it was going to happen. It just amazed me that in the NFL it wasn't that obvious.
53-yard field goal, man.
Yeah.
Urban Meyer gets off the hot seat for a week.
1 week.
Barely gets off.
Barely, yeah.
He should be taking his kicker out to whatever nightclub he's hanging out with and getting a chick for him, his kicker, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm seeing a couple comments in here too that I kind of like. Is Tua going to be the next Josh Rosen? Jason kind of says. We also see a comment on Herbert having a disappointing Sunday. That is correct, man.
Yeah.
Herbert just didn't show up. He just wasn't there. And I was actually on a little bit of Herbert this week, and it was a bit disappointing.
That's a tough game by the NFL to give them that, though, because they come from the West Coast. It's a 1:00 start there. That's 10 a.m., their time in LA.
Right.
So I know that probably shouldn't matter as much, but you got to think, man, your body has a natural reaction. So they might have come out sluggish, and by the time that they actually woke up to play, you're in a ball game and you're getting beat. So I think that was kind of a rough start for them too. So it didn't shock me too much, because that's a tough break.
Well, let's remember though, right? Like we're seeing these young quarterbacks learning on the fly, right? You have games. So you saw Joe Burrow earlier this year against the Bears. He threw picks on 3 consecutive throws and lost that game for them. Yep. So you see these young quarterbacks, and you have to remember they came in and started halfway through last season. They barely have a full season under their belt if they week 6. So a lot of this stuff is going to be week to week learning, and it's just it's going to be how he shows up next Sunday, how he shows up 3 weeks from now. So it's just I think that's one of the things with thrusting all these quarterbacks into the spotlight so quickly. Instead of seeing stuff that happens in practice, we're now seeing it happen on Sunday. We're seeing those growths happen every Sunday. So
Yep.
Agreed. Mac looked good. We're getting comments too. Yeah, Mac Jones is kind of, I think that game is slowly starting to just slow down a little each week, more and more for him. And I think he's going to be a great quarterback. I mean, again, I'm kind of shocked. There was a lot of talk, and I still go back. I'm not a conspiracy guy, but I still go back and kind of wonder, with all the relationships between Bill Belichick and whatnot, and kind of that pro day or whatever, where he kept missing the receivers.
Yep.
He's a pretty accurate passer. I don't know. I don't know if I'm buying it. I think that might have been a thing. Not that he would really want to drop, but I'm kind of wondering, man, if there's a little something wasn't there. But we got the meme with the binoculars, right? The binoculars, always checking. The 6 finger. What's that Kentucky photo they got with that linebacker with the 6 fingers?
That was insane.
They got Belichick going at the combine, like checking it out. Got to get the guy with the 6 fingers. Oh man. Arizona. Yeah. Another thing too. Going back to Arizona real quick. The Cardinals already have a solid team, and then they go out and they get Zach Ertz out of nowhere. Yep. That just came out of nowhere, right? I mean, we already know Goddard's kind of the go-to guy. It seems like more in Philly now. He's kind of taken over that realm. But who would have just thunk? I mean, Arizona really decided, hey, we're going to fill that gap. Max Williams is a great player, actually a former U of M Gopher, if you will. Stand up Minnesota one more time. But, he's coming off some injury. So he's got some injury going on. So, again, they get really a top tight end. He's got some years on him. He's got some miles on him. Yep. But you're also gaining that leadership, right? You get some more leadership in the clubhouse, in the locker room. That can go a long way, especially when they get deep in the season and they get in the postseason. So another interesting take. So I before we go to our building a franchise question for each and every one of you guys, I want to know what's your takes? Who's representing the AFC and the NFC for the Super Bowl this year? Who you think and why you think that? So I'll start. Nate, I'm going to start with you this time. We're going to go back the other way this time.
Okay, so let's see. Out of NFC, I'm kind of in between a couple of teams. I mean, I like the Rams a lot because they got Stafford finally has a great team. If I say, because Stafford got weapons, he got an actual run game as well that they really have in Detroit as well. So that's an option. They got obviously Tampa Bay because Tom Brady playing like he's 24 instead of 44. He's throwing 3-4 touchdowns a game look like. So they got him, and then obviously Aaron Rodgers can count him out. So then Dallas, if Dallas defense can continue playing like how it is, they're gonna be tough to get out too. But I don't know. I'm gonna go on a limb and say out of NFC. I'm gonna say the Rams. I'm gonna say the Rams gonna represent the NFC. I'm go on a little limb there, and then the AFC. I'm going to go with AFC is tough because the AFC is wide open. I really don't see one. There's not really like one true dominant team. But shoot, I'm trying to see. I kind of want to say Kansas City, but the defense scares me. The defense scares me a lot. I want to say Baltimore, but I'm not confident on the defense either. But I'm gonna go with actually. I'm gonna go with the Bills. I'm gonna go Rams Bills in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
We'll go with them.
I like that. I like
Go
that. I like that. I like that pick. Balls.
So we were close. I mean, we're on a lot of the same teams, obviously. Like Aaron Rodgers, it's always hard to count him out.
Yep.
Obviously, the Rams look really good. If I got to take a team, and it's more because of their defense, it's got to be Tampa Bay. I know a lot of people think Antonio Brown's their number 3 receiver, but he's probably their number 2. It's Mike Evans, number 1, him number 2, and Chris Godwin, number 3. I mean, that's 3 tough receivers. They got a decent running game that can help them.
Mm-hmm.
If for some reason they have to go and play on the road like in Green Bay. And, that defense travels no matter what. It makes me nervous this upcoming week because Justin Fields is going to see them. They're a 12.5-point favorite on some books against the Bears this week. And I think that's rightfully so. They're tough, man. So I would take Tampa Bay, but on the other side, I don't know why right now, and it's way early, but right now I like this Baltimore team. I really like the Baltimore team that they got. Mm-hmm. I think it kind of is representative of their coach, just to grind it out, physical, tough team that, I like what I see so far from Lamar. He's starting to – the more he starts to pass on teams, the deadlier his legs are going to become, because then you can't sit back. You can't play man-to-man and hope, that he doesn't complete passes. If he starts dialing teams up, they're going to have to sit back in coverage, and then he's going to dial them up with those legs. So I'm high on Lamar right now, and I like that. Right now, I like Baltimore. They're the team that I could see that could go to Buffalo and be as physical as Buffalo is. Yeah, I don't see that with any other team. And then, Baltimore versus Tampa Bay, I'm not going against Tom Brady. Brady's going to be in the Super Bowl, so I'll take Brady then.
All right, Brady. What's up, buddy? Going from Brady to Brady. Let's go, buddy.
Let's see right here. We are Michigan season ticket holders, so we are all in on Tom Brady. But I will take Tom Brady until he proves that he's not the guy to take. So that's kind of where I'm at in the NFC. I think obviously I mentioned earlier that I like the Rams, but I'm just going to go with Tampa.
Okay.
And on the AFC, I'm going to predict the AFC Championship game. Actually, I think it's going to be Bills Ravens.
Yep.
My gut says it's going to be in Buffalo, and my gut says to go with Josh Allen. So I think you can make the argument either way.
That call, man. I like that call.
Yep.
But can we just 2 seconds, and maybe this is a question for you, Def.
Yeah.
What is going on in Kansas City? That defense is terrible.
I did want to touch on that too.
How worried are we about Pat Mahomes? Can win you a lot of ball games just from his special play, but that defense has got to improve greatly for them to do anything in the NFL playoffs.
Well, and that's just it. And I think I think I want to and I did want to touch on this, and I had this in the back of my head when we were talking earlier to touch on the Chiefs. So I appreciate you bringing that up. That's always good when you guys can bring up things too and refresh me as well. And I'm going to kind of tie it in with you touch on the defense, and the defense just not being there. They're probably one of the worst defenses in the league.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not just saying that to be like a hater, because I appreciate good players, good teams. I don't care who they are, whether I'm a Viking fan or not. I'm a every fan, because I'm a player fan, because I'm a big DFS player, avid DFS player. I'm more about players than specific teams necessarily. And I play Mahomes a lot because he's always low owned, because he's always the highest priced player, and to stack him with his receivers are always the highest priced, and they're just always low ownership. But you're right. Their defense is not there. And I'm going to tie this in with my NFC team. I'm big on Brady. I'm big on the Bucs. I'm glad they won it last year. I think the Rams are going to represent the NFC this year, and I think it's going to come down to Tampa Bay and the Rams, if that's how it can match up, or how it can be for the NFC Championship. And they're both top defenses, right? But here's where I'm going to talk. I'm going to touch on a point going to KC with you and about Patrick Mahomes, and I'm going to tie this in with the Rams, is because people are been talking about Stafford, right? Stafford, he busts. He can't win big game. He can't win the big games. You know, he can put up the numbers, he can put up the stats, but he's going to bust. He's going to do this. His whole career, as he had one season when he was in Detroit, that he had a defense, even a halfway good defense, to back him and support him, to keep those points down, so he's not having to chase or play from behind all the time, or try to have to put up 40 points every week to be able to be in the game and to win the game. So much gets put on every quarterback, and for good measure, there's good reason for it, right? They're kind of the leader of the team. They should make things happen. But people forget so much about the defense. And right now, the Kansas City Chiefs, and I have a lot of Kansas City Chiefs fan base, like on my Twitter and stuff, and I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of them that are saying the same things, that this defense is atrocious, it sucks, it's whatever. We're one of the worst teams right now. We got to get it together. And they have probably arguably one of the best quarterbacks, and some of the top, receiver, best tight end in the league.
Yep.
But their defense cannot keep them in games. Patrick Mahomes is having to do everything and anything he can. And what's happening is a lot of what happens in these games, in any game, right, is momentum. Momentum is a huge thing. Momentum is a huge swing. You have a team with a solid defense, a defense that can stuff down, that can take them down, 3rd and long situations, field position, right? 4th and 1, stuffing them, holding them, getting the ball back for your team, not giving up points. That's what Kansas City is doing. And Patrick Mahomes is having to play. He's basically, he's playing from behind this season, isn't he? A lot of times, we look at a lot of these games, unless they start off with the ball, they might go down and they might score on their first possession and take that lead. But then after that, the game, it seems like they're just playing from behind, and their defense can't stop and can't hold the offense on the other side of the ball from scoring. So they just can't put up enough points in the end to win. Or if they do, they gotta do it right at the end of the game. He's got to be a miracle guy again. He's got to show exactly how good and how elite of a quarterback he is, and he's got to put the whole team plus his defense on his back. So I tie that in with the KC thing and the Rams, and why I feel like the Rams are, because I feel like Stafford is one of those quarterbacks that has just been so underrated, so underappreciated. Look at his numbers, okay? Yes, you can look at his games and say he didn't win a playoff game. He didn't get him to the playoffs that often, but he had nobody around him. He had what, Megatron for a couple years was there. He had Marvin Jones. He had some decent receivers, but he never had a supporting cast. And now he goes into LA, and it's just a whole different ballgame. You got a top defense, right? Got Cooper Kupp, who doesn't drop a pass. Robert Woods, who's right up there, who he can throw to. Tyler Higbee, right? And the list just goes on. You got Vance Jefferson, who's starting to slowly become something. Not huge, but starting to become something. So here's my take. I'm going to take the Rams against the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl. And I'm going to say that, I don't know, man. It's hard to go against my boy Josh Allen. Like, Josh Allen is that dude. I feel like that dude needs a ring. I want to see him get a ring before. His career is he's still got a lot left in his career, but I want to see him get a ring before he's done. And I want to see Stafford too. And, whether it's maybe they can beat him this year and then Allen's next year. Cause I think the Bills, if they keep their chemistry and keep guys together, they can keep that going for a few years. I don't know, man. It's all about keeping the teams together. But Brady, or anybody else? Touch on the Chiefs, guys.
Well, no, I just wanted to just chime in here. I'm just looking up some stuff real quick here.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are allowing the 5th most points in the NFL. And the 4 teams that are worse than them are the Washington football team, the Atlanta Falcons, the New York Giants, and the Miami Dolphins. That's 4 terrible football teams.
That's garbage.
And you know what that means? That means Jacksonville, Houston, and Detroit are allowing less points per game than the Kansas City Chiefs are. So it's just one of those things where it's when they say it's bad, it's really bad. And I understand part of that is, the Chiefs put up a lot of points, so you're going to have teams chasing them when they do win ball games.
Yeah.
But to see them get blown out by the Bills, it's just one of those things where they have to improve somewhere, and they have to improve quickly, I think, in order for it to be in time.
Can they? Is there enough time left in the season? We're going into week 7 now. They've already played their week 6 game, right? They pull out a win, but they're 500. Okay, at least they're not like 0-6 or 1-5 or even 2-4. They're 3-3.
Yeah.
But is there enough time to build this team back, get the chemistry together, get the defense rolling? Do they maybe go out and try to pick up a guy here or there where they feel like they're really lacking and that could make a big impact? Possibly.
Do they have enough to make the playoffs? And yes, I think Pat Mahomes can get you there. Do they have enough to compete with some of the other teams in the AFC right now? I don't think there's enough they can do right now. I haven't seen it. They have to go out and do something drastic. And, they looked at their schedule. Green Bay's coming up and Tennessee's coming up. Those are 2 tough games. So it's not going to get easier. So it's one of those things where it's got to happen quick and it's got to be drastic for them to make a running in the AFC like we saw them last year.
I agree.
And if I were to say anything, if their defense isn't going to get better, it has to be opportunistic. They have to get turnovers.
Yep.
And they just have to create short fields. They have to get the ball in Mahomes' hands more often, because that's the thing, is they're not getting the ball into his hands. It makes a difference. You can give up 24 points, but if you get the ball in Mahomes' hands twice, you cause 2 turnovers a game, Mahomes is giving you probably 10 points most times at minimum, if not 14 out of those. So they're going to score points. But I mean, long term, they need production out of Frank Clark and Chris Hunt. They're 2 linemen. They're both making over $20 million a year right now. That's $40 million of your cap space. And you haven't hit the high dollar Mahomes years yet, which are going to start rolling in on that new contract.
Yep.
So them boys got to produce, because if not, you're talking long term. Kansas City, you're always going to have a great quarterback, and your quarterback, whatever that saying is about tides rising boats, but he's going to make the team better. But long term, if those 2 guys can't turn it around and actually start producing the way that they're getting paid to, they might be in trouble long term, because they're going to have to let some of those playmakers go eventually.
Yep.
Right. And I think, Balls touched on some real quick to throw in there. A lot of times, I think we pay attention to this more offensively on the offensive side, but a lot of times when we're looking at teams, we're not really always paying attention too much on the line unless it's like offensive line, right?
Yep.
Like if the running game can't get going, if the quarterback's getting mangled all the time, then we're going, hey, they got to better up their offensive line. But sometimes we're not really looking at that defensive line side too. Are they bringing the pressure? Are they bringing guys in? Are they bringing the running backs back in? Are they containing? What are they doing? There's a lot out there. There's a lot of other factors that you have to look at. It's not just all on the DBs and the linebackers on the defensive side. It's those defensive ends, those tackles. They gotta get in there. They gotta be playmakers as well, if you will. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, Brady, you pulling any other stats up or see anything else pop out while you're over there? I know you're kind of diving into something.
He brought up the turnovers, and I just started to look. Chiefs are -8 this year. The only team in the NFL that's worse than them are the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oof.
So that's a team that's turning the ball over and not creating any turnovers themselves, which is not
bad.
Yeah, that's
bad.
And you look on the other end of the scale, and Buffalo's +11. That's an opportunistic defense that is setting up their offense to win football games, and that's why that's why they're 4-1.
Where are the Rams? You got it up. Where's the Rams at?
Yeah, Rams are +3. They're about 8th in the
Really?
NFL.
Wow,
So,
that's surprising. I thought they'd have a few more, but
Yeah, I did too.
we still got to have a season, so we'll see.
yeah, top 3 right now are Buffalo, Arizona, and Dallas, and you see that's why those teams are at the top of the NFL. So
yeah, there you go.
All right, guys, let's get into this. Let's get into this question here. We're sticking with the NFL still. I know this has been a big part of it, but that's what we've had the most to really talk about. We could have dove in about a whole bunch of the MLB season, but we just touched on playoffs at the beginning. We did all that. We spent 40 minutes on it. All right, so you're starting a franchise. You get one quarterback to pick, and I'm going to give you basically 5 options. They're going to be young quarterbacks, right?
Okay.
So Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, or Joe Burrow. Who are you taking and why? Who wants to start? We can go Brady or Nate. Either way, you guys decide.
Out of 5, I'll take Josh Allen. That's kind of funny too, because like when we first was coming out of college, I wasn't really high on him because like he kind of like your classic tall, big arm quarterback, not really overly accurate, but he improved a ton. He's more accurate, and the thing is like he can run the ball very well too. Like he's definitely a very like mobile quarterback. Got the arm, got the leadership. So I'm gonna go with start with Josh Allen. That'd be my pick.
Balls?
I thought we were going to talk about hockey now.
We can. Hockey did just start too. We can.
No, I had to.
Sports.
I had to.
Yeah.
No, I said it. I kind of previewed it earlier, but I'm still really high on Lamar Jackson, man. I think he's already an MVP in the league.
That's true.
And I think he's only like 24, 25. He's super young still. I think he's still developing as a passer, but you kind of saw that jump that Josh Allen took. You may not see that big of a jump from Lamar, but maybe, who says he doesn't get better? Who says he doesn't find that?
Yep.
And I just think where he's at with Harbaugh, he's got a stable coach that you kind of look at like in that division too. I look at like Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin should have a young quarterback right now instead of Ben Roethlisberger because those are the type of coaches that you want there. They've been through it all. They've seen the wins. They've seen the ups and downs. And I think he would be great at it too. And I just think that their relationship together, even that Monday night game they played, that he looked at him and said, "Hey, Lamar, do you want to go for it?" That's full trust in Lamar.
Yeah.
And, I think that relationship will continue to grow. And I think Lamar Jackson is who I would probably take. I know it sounds crazy, but that would probably be my guy out of them right now. I'm high on Lamar, man.
I like that.
What can you list the 5 for me again,
Yeah,
Jeff?
yeah, Brady, for sure, man. So Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, and Joe Burrow.
So for me, it's between Josh Allen and Kyler Murray. I'm going to bring up an interesting point, and I think the differentiator in my head right now is Kyler Murray still has this year and 2 additional years on his rookie contract. And I think when you're starting a franchise, that's got to be some part of it, because I don't know how much success we have with teams dishing out $40+ million to quarterbacks and going and winning a Super Bowl.
Right.
And, so that's part of it. My gut would be to take Josh Allen, but, you look at that $43 million price tag next year, and it's a lot. So,
that's a good point.
I'm just going to go with my gut and say Josh Allen. I love the aspect of his legs. I think it provides a different aspect to that team. And Kyler has that too. But I think we're kind of seeing Kyler take that step that Josh did last year. But my gut says to go with Josh Allen.
I like it. So I think I'll answer this as well. I'm going to go with Josh Allen. And you bring up a good point about the legs. The other thing I really like is the accuracy, and it continues to get better, right?
Yep.
There was question marks when he was drafted and he was brought into the league about his accuracy.
Yep.
It continues to get better. He continues to grow as a quarterback. I think another big thing, I do like Kyler. I do like Lamar. I mean, I like Herbert. I like them all. I mean, this is a question. That's why it's a loaded question, right? There's really no right answer. It's who you would take. It's where you see it, who you feel would be the best for a franchise in your own opinion. And there'd be a lot of different answers if you asked 100 different people.
Yep.
But I think one thing too, when you touch on like a Kyler versus a Josh Allen, and part of this is going to be in play for me, because they both use their legs, right? So we can't say like one uses more mobility than the other one. So like there's a higher prone of injury or risk of injury because they're scrambling a lot more and blah, blah, blah. But I think one thing that I look at too is, and I do take this as a factor, is size. Josh Allen is a big dude, right? I think over time, as years go on, the impact and what he takes, the hits and etc., I think he can withstand and hold a little bit longer than someone like Kyler. Kyler is amazing. I mean, the guy who's under 6 foot that can do what he can do. His offensive linemen are all taller than him. Like how he, even though he's back, how many yards, can still see what he can see and do what he does is absolutely amazing. But like Josh Allen's like that running back / almost linebacker size type, like he's what, 6'3", 6'4", like 240 pounds, 250 pounds. I mean, he's a big dude.
Yep.
Right. And he can move. Right. And so another thing you look into is you're getting into that goal line. You're getting into those, at the 1 yard line, whatever. Kyler can be sneaky because he's small. But I think if I need somebody who's just got to bulldoze it in on a quarterback sneak or got to do anything, the size, I think when that comes down to play, I mean, I see it. I see Josh Allen being able to get it in, even though they're probably similar on touchdowns, and you'd have to look at how many attempts each one of them have had as far as rushing side. I just feel like Allen can get in more than Murray can, and I feel like accuracy-wise, I think they're probably pretty similar, right? Kyler's probably got a little bit more of an arm. He could probably throw it a wing at a few yards farther, even though Allen can as well. Yep. So Murray's probably got that on Allen, but I think all in all, I don't know, dude. I really like the fight and the play that Allen has in him. And I think we're going to really see it come to fruition in the playoffs this year. I think you're going to see a different guy. He's going to be very hungry. He's going to be pissed off from last year. He's not going to let his emotions, play into him making mistakes because now he's been there. He has that experience. And I just think it's going to be a different deal. I think they're going to have what it takes to get where they need to get to and hopefully win it all. But we'll see.
Balls, I got a question for you. Does Lamar's athleticism moving forward in his career, any concern there? I mean, we've seen him make better throws than he did the past couple of years. It's growing, but I think around the NFL, it's been the trend that athletic quarterbacks eventually something happens, right? There's a reason that RG3 and some of those guys didn't last that long. And, hopefully that nothing like that happens for Lamar, but I think it's got to be a concern of somebody who wants to take him as a franchise quarterback.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, but I guess, for me, you talk about both those things. Can he be smart while he develops as a passer? Because right now his legs are all he has. So as he develops, but like you said, that cliff for a lot of guys, I mean, once it falls very hard and very quickly. And, that does make me a little bit nervous. But at the same time, I hear you guys both talking about Josh Allen. And I think of like nature versus nurture. I brought up how John Harbaugh helped with Lamar. Do you think Brian Daboll is going to get head coaching opportunities? Do we see next year without the offensive coordinator that he's had, the offensive mind, when he leaves, does Josh Allen still stay on this pace, or do we see some sort of regression from him? That he loses that offensive mind, because then you move to Sean McDermott, who's a defensive based head coach, and in all philosophy, he's not going to connect as well. And it makes me wonder with Josh Allen, that's one thing I've thought about, is when Daboll leaves, is he going to be the same? Where it's not like if Eric Bieniemy left, Patrick Mahomes still has Andy Reid, where it's not that big of a fall off. So that would be kind of my little bit of a concern with Josh Allen. But yeah, that is a valid point there. With any of those quarterbacks though, any type of injury, you never know.
I think balls, any type of injury, any type of coaching change, as throughout the years, as if they change staffs, that's always going to play a part, right?
Yep.
We brought this up earlier tonight when we talked about Gruden being gone, and wow, Drake goes off, gets a little bit more action in the game and has a huge game. And now is there maybe a little bit of a running back controversy that's not really talked about yet, but we might see. There's a lot of those flags and things that come up and questions that come up when that happens. Jeff Airtime says, anytime you're in the same category with the Jaguars, going back to the Chiefs on the turnover deals, it's not a good thing, LOL. And you are 100% correct, sir.
Yep.
And Jason Edwards, again, I appreciate you guys in the chat being active. There's a lot of times I'm paying attention to kind of see if I see anything that we can dive in or chime in on the topics we're on. But Jason Edwards says Burrow has looked great this season after injury last year. I agree. Yeah. Burrow's been amazing. And guys, you could even touch on talking about Playmaker, Jamar Chase. Right? Guys, there's controversy of can he catch a football, drop for preseason. Yep. Oh, him with the story about, well, it doesn't have the white stripes on the end of the balls, so I can't see the ball properly. He actually made that comment. And they're like, well, we're not going to paint stripes on the NFL ball. Sorry, buddy. And then he goes out and he just starts balling out right off the gate from week one. He has dropped a few, but any receiver drops a few. For receivers that have been in the league for 6 years, that are top receivers, drop passes that are right through their hands. That happens. I think he's been a little more of a surprise. I don't think it's been a crazy surprise because I think people thought he'd figure it out. You don't get drafted pretty high and do what you do in your college career as a receiver catching passes and then just all of a sudden not figure out how to catch a ball. Then that's like learning how to ride a bike and then not being able to ride a bike anymore. That just doesn't make sense unless you're not able to, unless you don't have that ability to anymore.
Yep.
You can usually get on a bike even if you haven't been on for 10 years and there you go. You can go right down the road. So I don't really have anything for NASCAR or anything. Anybody in here catch I do DFS NASCAR, but I don't pay a heavy attention to what's going on. Anybody on the NASCAR kick here or hockey? Anything?
I want to give a quick shout out to the Chicago Sky for winning the WNBA championship.
WNBA? All right.
Candace Parker coming home and bringing the championship back with her. I thought that was.
I know that name.
Big underdog. Yeah, they big underdog.
Yeah, they were a 6th seed going in the playoffs.
Wow, that's huge. Well, congrats all you. Shout out to all you Chicago fans, Chicago natives, if you will. That's awesome. If the Bengals beat the Ravens this Sunday, they're going to be scary. Jeff Lewis with a little beat the Bengals Ravens, and that's an interesting game. In fact. Talking a little bit of DFS, that's a game I take my first looks. In fact, on Wednesday, I typically drop my TikTok and my short story, my core 4 for DFS kind of midweek. It does change a little bit. I do it every week, but I'm eyeing. We've been talking about Lamar. He burned me this last week. I might be going back to the well again this week, even though he wasn't one of my core plays originally. I was on Heineke more, but Heineke got too chalky, so I kind of still played Heineke, but I went more Lamar. He kind of burned me. But Joe Mixon, dude's been balling out, man. He's an absolute stud. You got all the other guys with factors, the Burrows. Marquise Brown, that's another guy that burned me. That's why I just barely won this week because almost every one of my lineups had Marquise Brown in it, and I think I got 5 points from him, which is not good. So I'm lucky to come out ahead barely with a guy scoring 5 points on my. That's basically like a guy starting the game, getting 1 play or 2, and then getting hurt. But he played the whole game. Just terrible, absolutely terrible. They had no pass. There were really no pass game. They didn't need it, right? They were ahead the whole time. Nobody caught up. They just killed clock. Larson locked into. Okay, so Kyle Larson's locked into championship 4. Logano and Torres Jr. in must win 2 races to advance most likely. So it looks like Kyle Larson. Is it Kyle?
Yeah,
Kyle
Kyle
Larson.
Larson.
Kyle
Yep.
Larson is possibly the guy to be a championship winner there. So you got to know how to turn left, right? If you turn right, you're going into a wall in NASCAR.
I know we talk about it quite a bit,
right
but did you see the UFC that was announced?
We can
Charles
talk UFC
Oliveira versus Poirier.
Poirier's fighting who?
Charles Oliveira for the
Oh, I
title.
like that. I love Poirier. Poirier's my dude.
I think that card also, the co-main on that is Masvidal Edwards.
And then on the 6th or 7th is my boy Gaethje, Justin Gaethje. He fights. Who's he fighting? Pretty big name. I don't remember who it is off the top of my head, but yeah, I'm gonna be watching that for sure. Gaethje's my dude, man. I had Gaethje when he fought. When he really became a name in the UFC. He'd been a champ and everything he'd fought. Huh?
When he beat Tony Ferguson.
Man, he mangled him. And I tell you what, everybody that has fought or trained with that guy says, like, even Khabib said that nobody hits harder in the UFC than Gaethje. He's a truck.
My buddy Austin Hubbard, he fights MMA. Yeah. He's in the UFC. He's at 155, fights at Elevation with Gaethje.
Yeah.
So I mean, they spar all the time. He says my buddy Hubbard was nicknamed Thud because when he hit people, that's what you heard was thud every time he'd hit somebody. Yeah. And he says, "Oh, I've been knocked out quite a few times sparring with them."
Gaethje.
Yeah, and that just shows you what kind of power that guy has.
And the dude just he just walks, he'll just walk, he'll just get hit and he'll just keep walking into it. Dude, you can't knock that dude. You can't knock that dude out, man. It's insane. Absolutely insane.
And all right,
guys, what's up?
The best, the most underrated, I'll give you this. If you want to watch UFC, Shevchenko, the chick.
Oh, yeah.
The chick title holder, she is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
There's nobody. She's going to win 30 fights in a row. There's nobody that's going to touch her.
Yeah. Anybody else want to add anything on that's on here tonight? Or are we good? We're a little over an hour and a half over. I mean, pretty good first episode, I would think. Yep. We'll have more. There's going to be more. NBA is actually going to be rolling now next week. So we'll have kind of a gauge on where teams are through 1 week. Players that are sticking out, another week of NFL. We'll have another week of MLB playoffs. So and this will just continue. We'll roll some UFC in more than just what we kind of touched on as fights are happening, things are brewing. NHL, we can kind of touch on if anybody's really into hockey. We can bring some hockey people in here that can maybe touch on it a few minutes as well that know more hockey because that's one sport I don't really get much into, but I'm all about having any and every sport represented. That's not an issue. NASCAR, same thing. And again, guys, for everybody out there watching, if anybody wants to be on or be a guest at all, let us know. I don't care if I have same people on. I don't care if I mix it up with a couple people. If people can't make it every week or there's somebody, whatever, Brady, Nate, Balls, I don't expect you guys to be here every week. If you want to join, if you want to be a part, it's totally up to you guys. You can go every couple weeks, whatever you want to do. We can have more than total of 4. We can have up to 10 people on here if we really want to, a total of 10 people. So, but we're going to continue to grow it. Nate, if you got anybody else, buddies that are really into sports, that really dive into it, that want to, be a part as well, that are creators or just want to chime in. Brady, same thing with you, man. Well, as same thing. And again, all you guys out there, we appreciate all of you guys joining tonight to be a part of the first episode. I think, as it went on, people kind of got distracted. You got games starting and stuff as well. I get it. I was distracting myself with the draft, but any closing, I guess let's give you guys each a closing minute or two. Anything you want to guys say or whatever. We'll start with Brady. We'll go around the horn.
No, I mean, I think we touched on a lot of different stuff. I just want to note on the insanity that is college football right now. I know.
Yes, that's another thing we didn't even touch on, which we'll do next week.
I think not this weekend, but the weekend after that. I'm a big Michigan fan, so we got Michigan State, which should be a top 10 matchup. You got Ohio State, Penn State, which should be a top 10 matchup. You have Clemson, who's looked bad this year, which is crazy, and Alabama, obviously, with their one loss. So it'll be an interesting college football season. I think Georgia's obviously the team to beat, but I'm excited to see how that plays out. It's a year that's not as predictable as some of the more previous years have been. So
right, and that reminds me to touch on college football as we go on the next weeks. Yep. It's not something I really even prepped or had written down in notes, but that's something we do need to touch on. And then if you guys have anything as well, like throughout the week or before the show, like DM me, message me, email me, whatever, say, hey, you can throw this in or we can touch on this, or you can even add it in the show as we always do. So, Balls?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you think of a question throughout the week and you're watching, when Jeff uploads the video, make sure and put it in the comments. He'll circle back to it.
Yes.
I kind of sent him the question about the 5 quarterbacks. I wanted to hear everybody's thought on that. So if you got one, circle back with it. And my last remark is Green Bay sucks.
All right, Nate, floor is yours, brother.
All right. I guess with me, I'll just wait for the NBA to start. Definitely trying to see like all the new accusations, like trying to see what the Lakers are going to look like. The Bucks. Giannis is hitting pull-up jumpers with ease now, so that's obviously scary. So we got that, and so definitely looking for that. Looking forward actually a little bit of hockey as well, and NASCAR season ending. So like this is really a good time for the sports in general. We got pretty much all sports going on at the same time, so
a lot going on.
TV, and also towards the end of the month, I will be hobby-wise, I'll be at the Dallas Card Show.
Oh, nice.
At the end of October. So I'll be down there for Saturday and Sunday. So I'm glad to go down there, hope get some nice cards and go from there.
You should do a live stream while you're out there.
I should actually. That's a good idea. All right.
Do a live stream.
Okay.
Live stream, just like a check-in from the show a few things. And that's a lot of people usually do that. I used to do that when I went to the local Minnesota shows here, but had some friends of mine that didn't like the camera, even though I wouldn't put them on camera if they didn't want to be. And why are you doing this? And blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, well, I have a lot of hobby people that follow. That's what they want. Exactly. They want to see that. That's the reason why. That's the perfect time to do it, actually. There's people that can't even go to card shows. Yep. But yeah, just to close it up, man, the big thing is I just want to thank each and every one of you guys for being here, being guests, being on, helping be content creators and bringing your voice, your knowledge, and, basically where your viewpoints on everything we touched on tonight. If you guys want to, make sure you guys follow each and every one of them. All their information is in the description already below in the video here. So make sure you guys give them a follow on Twitter. I got Brady up there. I got Balls. Nate does also content on YouTube. We just told him to go live at the Dallas show this weekend. I got his YouTube link as well. So go ahead and give him a sub over there. And it's free. It's free to sub. If you guys aren't subbed here, I'd appreciate it. Put a little thumb on the video. And yeah, Balls, I like his idea. I think we'll do that every week. If you have questions that you want us to ask that we didn't touch on, put them in the comments after the video uploads, and then we'll go back to those. We'll look at them before we do the next episode. And with that being said, guys, I want to thank each and every one of you viewers for being here, all of your interactions, your comments, etc., your viewership, and most of all, just your support. And until next time, we'll see you next Monday night. Auction tomorrow night. A nice, probably big auction, probably a 3-4 hour auction, not a 2-hour one. So we'll go a little longer than normal lately. We'll do one of the old school auctions tomorrow night. So auction tomorrow night, 6:30 Central Standard Time. All right. Love you guys. Later. Peace.